Morning. Today is Saturday. It is September 20th. We are in Vermont on the southern end of the Five Bogs area. We're going to be heading north of there today to follow up on an area with previous activity, do some track checking and some things. You never know what we'll find. And we have some commentary for the day as well, mixed bag of things. So that's on the tap too. We'll do that when we get there though. Got some ground to cover, so we're going to do that first. So come on along, you know the drill, and we'll see what happens. Thanks. I don't know if he's going to do it again, but there was probably a pileated woodpecker. I know I didn't say that right. Over there, making some very loud wood knocking sounds they're clearly a woodpecker, but if you listen beyond me yapping, you don't hear much. Very distinct. But we are making entry into our destination. This is a place. Hang on. Do some more. So the denseness of the ferns are discouraging towards an entry I want to make today. We'll have to play that by ear once we get in through the clearing over there and get to the pond. What I was going to say. If you've been a subscriber of the channel for any period of time, you've probably been here before with me. The history of this place being the theory of the family unit having a youngster started here because I had tracked a pair of probably mated them here, and I'm just gonna let him serenade until I get in there. That really is very distinct. Shit. I'll let him do the talking for now. No matter how hard you try, you can never make a noiseless entry into here. Too many branches to step on. Oh, how mucky is this? Not its worst, but still. You don't sink too far if you keep moving, basically. Just remind myself to, this is what I don't like, because that kind of shit hides dips or rises in uneven terrain. That's where you can have accidents happen. And I think I mentioned when I was at Manitou, you go slow because there was one time, see a little knot hole like that? I stepped in one and ended up all the way up to my hip in one. And it was only because I took such a slow-paced, tentative step that I didn't do anything explosive. And really, as far a hike into there as that is, if you broke your knee or twisted it royally or something, you would not have a fun time getting back out. Not that you couldn't, but it would be pretty damn miserable. Although you'd probably have a story to tell. Anyway, we're further in. Yeah, so the history of this place, over on the side over there's usually a muddy patch, and I found a smallish trackway in there with two sets that were like exactly the same size of the pair I'd been tracking for at that point, probably 2 seasons consecutively. Only there were a third set of tracks, making it very strongly suggested that a toddler had matured over the winter, or a youngster and baby made 3, which was interesting. So it is my express opinion in the greater area of this place, there are at least 3, although there's also number 3. Yeah, that's definitely a politeated, I think, because they make that weird ass. Huh? They make that weird ass noise that makes you think they're kind of batshit. Oh shit, this is a lot wetter than normal. Let's have a look. We have some differences this year. The hole getting over there just took on a whole new challenge because this is a lot soggier than normal. Let's have a look. Interestingly enough, we're supposedly in a drought. And the drought is currently underwater. And I'm wondering if our buddy here has something to say with that. Like they got a little bit busy and they kind of caked off the pond for themselves. Interesting. So, since our woodpecker friend seems to have taken a break, let's cover some topical stuff while I assess my ability to even get around the edge of this, because that looks like it's going to be a wading adventure. This is totally unexpected. You bucktooth little sons of guns have been busy. Huh. Normally, this is all meadow. It's not today. They flooded the whole damn thing. Son of a gun. Wow. My whole day's plans have been sort of rewritten. I'm going to have to gauge this now. That's interesting. Huh. So, as far as social commentary, I don't like to do it, but it's really hard not to. It's kind of hard to ignore the whole Charlie Kirk thing. It spilled into Bigfooting sort of kind of when Steve Culls brought him up in his podcast. Apparently he knew the guy. What I'm going to say is, number one, I'm not going to badmouth the guy, and it's not out of fear of cancel culture or anything like that. It's simply a matter of human decency, because the truth of the matter is, on an objective level, until the day of his passing, not being a person who partakes of that spectrum of media, I really had never really heard of him. I didn't know who he was. And that's not a diss on him. That's not a praise of him. That's just, up until that time, I really had no idea who the guy was. But it really is a shitty thing to either do what could be taken as basically pooping on the guy's grave, because even if you don't agree with his politics, and I'll be honest, I don't, you still don't shit on the guy's grave. The proper thing to do in Mikey world is you show enough respect to his family that you let them grieve quietly and let them set the pace for how they want to address the outer world regarding that matter. You respect the family's privacy. That's really what you do if you're thinking in terms of human decency. Now, if you want to honor his memory in some way, that is absolutely something that's okay to do. Again, I had never heard of him, so I'm not going to mourn past a point. I'm sorry, I didn't know the guy. But I do send the most sincerest of condolences to his family, and hopefully you're getting the right amount of support that you need in this time that really sucks for you. Having lost a relative, a family member, that's not ever an easy thing. So I'm not going to do what some people are doing, and this really does make me sick. And this is, it doesn't matter what part of the political spectrum you are. If you are trying to either exploit or, what's the right word, politicize, I guess is the best word, his death, I'll draw a difference between honoring his memory, if you're doing something like that, you're going to a vigil or something, that's fine. Not what I'm about to refer to. But if you are somehow a person, a prominent figure in the news, and you are trying to weaponize his passing, and that can be applied to the right and the left, I'm not playing favorites. You're a fucking parasite, frankly. I mean, granted, most politicians, by their very nature of what they are and how they get into office, are parasites. But that being said, that's a whole different rant on a whole different level. That's not really pertinent to the memory of a person who unfortunately lost his life due to some really shitty circumstances. I still don't fully understand the shooter's motive, but I kind of kept an open mind, because right now I think like you have too much rage bait as stuff going on social media and the like to really get a fair assessment. That's why you got to let it percolate over time and get a more balanced news-related view of what actually happened there. Not to cut back and forth, I really have a strong doubt of being able to get over there, which is really kind of a bummer. The Beavers have not been slacking in what it is that they do. I'm going to kind of try to edge my way around here and see. Because normally you can walk out that far at least before you hit the pond. Bucky's been busy. And you're a little bit of a bitch, man, because I can't. You kind of really hosed my day here, buddy. Anyway, yeah, so on a macro level, the people that are trying to weaponize his death, they probably even have deluded themselves to thinking they're doing something to honor his memory, or, in the case of the left, make a social commentary, something, but you're not. And I'll draw the extremes here. So on the one hand, you want to make a National Day of Remembrance or something. You're doing it for, let's not kid ourselves, they're doing it for political motives. That being said, the overall message, if you are somebody from that part of the political aisle, it's not the worst way to handle expressing your thoughts towards that. But when you start applying a reverse cancel culture to people that have a differing opinion, that's a big ass horsefly or dragonfly. Not quite as big as the ones in the Adirondacks, but you're a chunky little thing. Anyway, there's a level of difference between. No, we had moved on to cancel culture. The whole cancel culture thing is a little bit inherently hypocritical because you're using it against the left. But you can also equally argue the left whining about it. We're thinking Jimmy Kimmel at this point. The Twitter mob was inherently left-wing prior to this, so there is kind of a weird just desserts there. I'm not going to really delve too far into that. But if you are starting to apply that to people who just, like myself, are keeping a polite distance from the sensationalization of the event itself, now you're doing something that's exploitive and frankly disgusting. Because, like I already previously mentioned, I'm not going to go out of my way to mourn him past a point, largely just because I wasn't really that familiar with him. I will, however, say I think that the family deserves a quiet, respectful distance so that they can mourn the way they want to and the way they want to express. And it's always polite to let the person in mourning set the pace. Don't try to dictate it to them. And I'll never retreat from feeling that way. Moving to a more microcosm level, I gotta take the pack off. This is kind of, if I'm gonna sit here and yap for a few, I'm gonna take a break. Since I have to kind of assess if I can even get into this damn thing. That being said, I'm not gonna wander too far because I'm not gonna leave a loaded 38 special unattended. That's just poor gunmanship. Now that I've outed myself. On a more micro level, I was watching a certain podcast on Wednesday, and the podcaster in question was pissed about some things that were happening relative to the passing of Dr. Meldrum, another shit event from the week. And there are going to be those who polite, and I do agree with one thing Steve said about, if you didn't agree with him, you're a Wooster or whatever. It's still polite to say, we didn't always agree, but rest in peace and thanks for the memories, and move on and just leave it at that. And I'm obviously not a Woo person, although I never always agreed with everything Meldrum did too. I mean, mainly I'm thinking about the times he interacted with Todd Standing. But at the same time, he's also, I thought, a big boy who knows what he's doing and can handle his business, and therefore, proceed at your own caution, but you also, I assume, know what you're doing, so there's that. But you don't freak the way that he was going on and on about what Robert Kreider did. And Robert Kreider, as I remember, is some dude that a while back was giving Dogman expeditions and is definitely somebody on the Woo side of the fence. So a twofold critique here on what was said on the podcast. On the one hand, what Kreider said was disingenuous and two-faced. He's like, there's been a lot of tributes lately, blah, blah, blah. There's then he goes into the obligatory rest in peace, but then immediately, and then he presses his own agenda. Well, now it's time for the Woo to rise. And, well, I mean, I'm very generally paraphrasing here, obviously, and taking a bit of poetic license, but you're a noisy little fly. Fuck off. I hate flies. Or what are you? Oh, you're some kind of a bee thing. Never mind. You're some weird ass little bee with a hyperactive asshole doing whatever you're doing. Anyway, carry on. So on the one hand, he's not necessarily wrong that Kreider was definitely using it to exploit the opportunity to take to spout off his own agenda and all that. Social commentary, okay, but I'm going to have to smack Steve Coles in the head a little bit too by saying, and if he gets offended, fuck you, Steve. He took it a little bit too sensationalistic, and that's something that Steve does on occasion, and I think he has a fixation sometimes with trying to come across larger than life. And, sorry, I've been out in the woods with you. I know the other you, so stop it. But, and I mean that facetiously before you go off on me in PMs again. Don't make me bring that up publicly. I'm not going to, and it's not a threat. It's not blackmail, but I'm just going to make the point. That's the other you. When you were spouting off in mid-rant, you were taking that a little bit more personally than you really had a right to, because the memory does belong to Jeff Meldrum, not to you. And even though the New York Bigfoot Conference did make you the speaker in his stead, maybe it's a better thing, and this is just me spouting off my two-bit opinion, granted, but be humble, accept the honor, go do it, but you're a hoax buster with a podcast. Dr. Meldrum is Dr. Meldrum, and you're two completely different people. Stop trying to fill his shoes, because you're not going to. I'll end on a diplomatic route, but what you were doing did come across, I'm sorry, but it came across a little self-serving and freaking chest thumpy, and in my opinion, I'm saying this as a friend. I'm not saying this to say that you're an asshole for doing it. I'm saying this as a friend. And if you are the friend you claim to be more often than once, you'll take the constructive criticism for what it is. If not, well, then look in the mirror. because I said what I said. And you notice, like, the last time we had a disagreement over something I said facetiously and I thought was obviously taken, but you took it a little bit more like butthurt 5-year-oldishly. You notice I didn't apologize, because what I said was not wrong, and what I said was delivered with the intended level of emphasis that I meant to. I don't mince my words, and I don't say two-facey shit that I don't mean. I'm blunt to a fault. I shoot from the hip, and if you get shot and you get butt hurt, that's on you. I'm really pissed about this pond being so fucking... I gotta look over there and see if I can get around there. Make a judgment call. So I'm gonna end the rant on that note. The other thing, although I'm gonna critique you on one more goddamn thing too, because there was somebody else, I guess. I'm not gonna go into Morrison Duffy, and yes, I'm gonna out you because you are a bit of a fucking psycho. And yes, bitch, we know who you are, and we know where you live in Colorado. We know who you are. I don't know specifically. I don't have your address. I'm not threatening you, but you have it right on your profile where you're from. So, I mean, you're giving that out. So don't cry to the people are stalking you. I have no intention of stalking your psycho ass. You can stay over there. But I can literally hear myself echo off the water. That's fucked up. But he made a statement about Steve Coles is not for free speech, and Steve denied that on his podcast at the very same time that he's basically advocating canceling. I think it was Morrison Duffy. That's where I'm going to fucking call you out and say, you can't say you're for free speech and then you're going to cancel anyone you don't agree with. Because that's exactly the same kind of weaponization as something like Charlie Kirk's death that is kind of really scummy. People do have a right to speak their view. Now, if you're going to do a happy dance because some poor guy lost his life way too soon, I mean... Yes, the First Amendment allows you to do it, and yes, you're going to look like a complete asshole doing it, and yes, you're going to have some social consequences. And I just noticed that little frog right down there in the middle there, hiding in the shadows, is listening very intently to my little speech. And thank you, Froggy, for being a good listener. You're awesome. I have a little audience down there, and I'm not even going to bother him because out of respect for him being so respectful for me, he's an awesome little froggy. Anyway, I quickly digress, but the fact is, anyone who embraces cancel culture, and it could be right-wing, left-wing, or anyone in between, is that same little fucking self-serving twat way back when who said, we need to run him out of the Bigfoot community. As if that's even possible. Todd Standing, Tom Biscardi, Rick Dyer have been run out of the community 3, 4, 5 times. They're still there, guys. I have been on the receiving end of this threat by freaking self-serving parasitic individuals who thought basically, okay, they had paper-thin skin and frankly are little bitches. If I mention them, you'd know who they are. If Coles is hearing this, he probably knows who I'm referring to. They're thin-skinned little bitches. And they were going to run me out of the community. You know what? You can do that. You can claim that you accomplished that. And you notice we're out here in this lovely little stretch of woods, cursing Bucky Beaver for being an overachiever today. Bucky Beaver, the overachiever, Froggy down there is appreciating some. We're getting a secondary follow-up concert from our woodpecker friend too. We'll call him Woody. But Froggy down there is being a good listener. He's taking in the fancy word play. But it's the same thing. We're going to run them out of the community. We're going to cancel. Go fuck yourselves. You can't cancel someone if they don't give two shits what you think. That's my life lesson for the person I'm thinking of, thin-skinned little fucking bitch and hypocrite that he is, backstabbing, best friend backstabbing little gaslighting piece of crap that he is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to name his name because that'll start a new feud with a little bitch because he'll probably cry sucking his thumb under his bed. Sorry, Froggy. But that same cancel culture kind of thing. You can't cancel somebody who doesn't give two shits what you think. I'm going to go assess the nature of the pond over there and see if I can get in here without having to wade up to my hips in mud and Lord knows what else. Swampy goodness. And Because if I walk out into that right now, it may not look that way. You're going to probably sink in well past your knees and potentially get stuck. Not that you'll die, but it's still unpleasant. It's happened. It sucks. It really does suck. But I'm giving you that criticism because in 2 sentences back to back, I stand for free speech, but then I also let's cancel this guy. You shouldn't. Because you yourself also said you're going to distribute his likeness anywhere you go as a speaker, because he has actually threatened you. If this guy is that unhinged and he's willing to make threats against people, then people should be aware of what he is, who he is, and what he's capable of, at least in theory. It seems to me that you would owe the public the right to be aware of this loon, because there's a few people out there. I forget the guy's name from, I'm going to say, the 2008, 2009 era. There was a guy in New York State who was definitely a militant of the pro-kill camp. And this guy was a guy who was out there with young kids waving a loaded shotgun around without a care in the world, and was really just a gun accident waiting to happen. And it is a shame that I forgot his name, because this guy was a certified wannabe tough guy lunatic type personality, and people should be aware of him so they can avoid this guy like the plague. I'm amazed that day. I also saw another video of the guy too, where he's doing the same thing with crossbows. Loaded fucking fully cocked crossbow, waving it around like without a care in the world. This guy is just an accident waiting to happen if he hasn't killed somebody already. Maybe you haven't heard from him because he's doing time for manslaughter or some shit. I mean, unfortunately, the one hunting accident in Vermont, on a related note, who is serving time for manslaughter, was actually a Connecticut state trooper who was hunting while he was drunk off his ass. Sorry to depress you there, Froggy. I'll let you have your pond back in a minute. I'll be on my way. I'll leave you in peace. Anyway, the minute you start playing that, and one thing that Cole said to me, and he'll probably get some ire, throw some ire my way, because he said this in private, but I'm not as tolerant in my old age. Well, then don't act like you are. If you're a cranky old curmudgeon, then say you are. I don't like Steven Struford either, but at least he's probably the first one that would tell you he's become a cranky old curmudgeon in his old age, and he is proudly scofftical or skeptical or whatever the hell he's using as his term this day, but he is unabashedly pretty in your face about it, and at least he comes across and he puts it out there. Like, he takes a lot of shit for it too, granted, but you're interrupting. Polite Froggy. Rude Froggy, knock it off. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. There is some criticism for Steve to take here. Don't say you're for free speech and then mention canceling somebody who, honestly, if he was even half willing to freaking act on his threat that he made you, the public should be aware of the lunatic this guy is. So, I'm right, and in that case, you're wrong. And if you want to get all pissy about it, get in DMs, I'm not going to apologize for what I said. Take criticism from a friend as it's offered, or don't. But I'm going to let Froggy have his... Let's just give a little thank you. There's our little buddy down there listening ever so politely to me. We're going to leave him be. And Froggy, you have an awesome day. And that's my little nature boy moment of the day. You're being very polite with those little bugs flying around that you're not nailing one with your tongue because you're listening to me talk, and that's very nice. We're going to let you be now. We're going to take a segment break and walk over there and decide if I'm going to move on, because that's all freaking muddy, crappy, swampy overachievement of beaver work, but we'll see what we can do with that. And we'll take the day from there, because the day is young. We can hit a couple of other spots otherwise. Anyway, that's still a bit of a shocker. We're going to take a segment break and we'll catch you in a bit. Situational update. I could get over there. The problem is that the mud flat I wanted to check for tracks is effectively underwater, defeating the purpose. So I'm also going to kind of get back to the trail, because in the distance I hear dogs, and that usually means, as it is the first week of bear hunting season here, you got bear hunters out here, and as I'm not wearing orange, as I forgot this little fact today until I got here, I'm going to kind of make myself more on the trail and more visible for potential safety reasons. And then that'll be a slightly less worry. Anyway, yeah, much to my chagrin, the means of getting to the mudflat is a moot point because the mudflat is underwater. I don't hear the hunters, but I do hear hunting dogs. So we're going to get to the trail again and avoid a running in here because first season makes even season hunters perhaps a little more trigger happy. And hopefully I'm not on the menu so we don't get shot. It's a wonderful way to ruin your day. Anyway, I guess that's it for the rant. We're in full fieldwork mode at this point. Reevaluating where I'm going to go look for. We can go to an area, I think, where I may have been approached by one of them. I mean, they're basically... If they're still in the area, they're basically active in this overall area unless they've moved out and moved on for other reasons. But if they aren't and they're still around, it's kind of a crapshoot that you can run into them still. That's kind of what I was banking on today. But if you got fucking hunters out, that may screw up chances too, but you never know. The trail I came in on for the over an hour walk in here to get here is not heavily traveled that much, so probably why they chose to hang out here, because you got water, you got food, and you got cover to a large degree. And if you don't want to be found, you're probably not going to be. You can definitely hide out here reasonably effectively for a while if you really wanted to. Unless you're like a fugitive and subject to a full-on manhunt. More like if you're someone who just wants to take what some people call a fuck it break and go willfully missing. Circumstances and mileage varying on that, but you could do it in here and probably do it hypothetically for a whole summer, because the rule of thumb is that you have to move your campsite once every 14 days. So for 13 days, hang out, keep a low profile, not be found, you're probably good. But I'm going to redo that segment break because I got to get up that, and I probably need both hands to do that. So I'm going to do that and have, if nothing else, have my focus. We'll again be back at a... This isn't our main destination, but it is a stopping point along the way. This is normally a pond. So when I was talking about the drought before, here you go. It is a mud flat at this point, and we're going to bop over close enough just to look and see if there are any obvious track opportunities, but I'm not really seeing anything. Anything walking through there would leave some, I would assume, pretty obvious tracks. Let's get a moment where we have a wider berth of viewing, but I really don't see any. But, well, there's a moose track there, but moose are obviously not the main quarry we're after today. But I'm going to get over here and we'll have the widest viewing swath is a word that comes to mind for all that. And for those who comment, comment on my stuff very often, which is fine. I don't do it for social clout, just to be clear, but for those who are tempted to react negatively to what I said about the Squatch Detective, aka, if you believe certain people, Pookie, and I mean that facetiously, so fucking lighten up, Francis. Understand that you're kind of guilty at that point of doing the same thing I'm calling him out for, which is, yes, it's kind of a self-serving thing that Mr. Kreider is clearly using the Meldrum passing as an exploitive opportunity to give his own sales pitch on his dog man expedition selling nonsense, which is exactly that. And fuck you if you don't like it, Kreider, you're a kook. Suck it if you don't like it. Defamation is defined as false statements that negatively affect a person's reputation. You can't do that if number one, what you're saying is A, based on opinion, B, probably not wrong, and your reputation's already where it is anyway, Chief. And you could take Matthew Johnson and take that statement and freaking times it times 10 easily and not even try very hard. Anyway, if you think you are Meldrum's passing being kind of a vehicle for Pookie's chest thumping is kind of not the best look, and that's all I said. And again, I have absolutely no intention of apologizing to anyone for saying that, because I also don't feel that I'm wrong. So there's that. And again, the whole cancel culture thing, Morrison Duffy, you look at the cut of his jib, he looks a bit unhinged. People should be aware of him. So you don't cancel him. You feed him rope and you let him just showcase what he's about, and then people can see him for what he is and avoid him like the fucking plague. Because the fact that he threatened Steve Kulls makes him... I'm going to say this once, and I've actually been bit hard in the past for saying this. The basis for a falling out that has led me to have nothing but trouble with certain people for the last 13 fucking years is making the statement, you are reacting to a point of bringing things to court over freaking nonsensical Bigfoot drama on the fucking internet. And the only proper response to that notion is grow the fuck up. You're not 5. There, I said it. So before you lambaste me for saying what I said, take a second and consider that notion for a moment. You're reacting to fucking Bigfoot drama on the internet, and then grow the fuck up. And actually, now that I look over there, you got like 6 feet by 10 feet of a pond that's left, but this is basically a mud flat. So the drought is not to be underestimated. Another one of those big ass dragonflies. I'm going to take a segment break, get to where I'm actually meaning to go. I'm looking at this. It's a nice scenic little pond. It's barely a pond, so it's not. So it is what it is. And we're going to get on our way and take a little picture of this for posterity, and then we'll probably pop back on to talk more about shit when we get to the other place, which is big enough. If that's dry, then damn, we're doomed. Anyway, we'll catch you again. I lied. We're back a little bit sooner than I thought. I walked right by this, which is probably nothing more than a rock dent or something, but it was just, I walked right by that, and shame on me, because you got 2 moose tracks, 3 moose tracks, and weird poo right in here. And I'm going to put that under the solid category of I have no idea. For the sake of size comparison, though, it is bigger than a human foot. That's about all I'm going to throw at that. But then again, you have moose tracks through here that go in deep enough that they get distorted enough that it's kind of hard to tell what they are anyway. But God forbid we actually throw some field work related nonsense into this video today as we make our way back out to go and get to our main new destination, given that the beaver thwarted my previous mud flat investigation. Again, it's underwater. What do you want me to do? But we'll be back this time in a bit. Now we're at the main destination, which is a change of the plan again, because the other one was underwater. This is, however, it is affected by the drought, because normally where I'm walking right now would be underwater. The water line is over here, so there is some drought here, but this is a pond that is collectively the size of probably 4 consecutive football fields, conservatively. And so being that big, it's going to be kind of hard to pull that off. And for some history, you can walk out on a little peninsula there and camp on the very end there. We were going to do that 2 or 3 years ago, but Our buddy wasn't able to get in here until the dark because he doesn't have enough control over his personal life. And I'm saying that very facetiously, John. Calm down. But trying to stomp in through there in the dark, you're going to kill yourself. It's one of those camping trips, basically, if you camp there and once it gets dark, that's your freaking important call for the night. If you try to get out there, you're gonna get hurt going through that shit in the dark. And you definitely will step in moose shit. And you may be visited by same in the night, because there's all, for a weird little peninsula thing, that thing is like a moose fucking highway if the poo and the tracks tell the tale. Not that something huge didn't come through here or there. Although that could be a bear too. I have actually seen bears in here. And I know for a fact there's a bear that dens for a little bit north of here. I think that's north. So I'm going to kind of listen in for a few, and then we'll see what comes of this. The bitch of this place, though, is you like to hike around the back of there. If you get into this beyond where you see immediately there, the amount of deadfall, the size of the deadfall, and transit through there, good luck. You're climbing over, under shit, and it's good luck. You'd almost be better taking like a kayak or a canoe or something, bringing it out, getting it on the water, and just going across that way. Kind of like cutting through that shit and getting over there, and then wading out to the other side. But then, of course, you got to haul a fucking boat in here. And it's an hour walk from the trailhead. So now I take that back, an hour and 15 minutes if you go all the way over there to where we just came from. Where Bucky fucked my day, but you had a very polite frog listen to my rant, which I still appreciate. That was a damn nice frog. I'll call him Froggy and wish him a good day. Anyway, with our little buddy over there flying around, keeping an eye on things, our little dragonfly buddy there, who's not the tiniest of dragonflies, but we're going to take a look and kind of zen out in this moment for a minute, and then we'll get back to you after that. So we'll catch you in a bit. All right, this is about, we're going to wrap this one up. We're on our way back out, and in today's episode, we effectively ranted to a frog and cursed an overachiever beaver who thwarted my original plans. Film at 11 and critique deserved as far as I'm concerned. Moving on. Like, subscribe, leave death threats, leave criticisms, threaten to throw me out of the community again, get in line, or have a nice day and leave constructive criticism or not. Either way, have a great day. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye.